So, as expected, the Tories took a battering in the local elections, something that makes me very, very happy. And you know what? It was fully deserved. Now, this is the breakdown of the total councillors lost and won. You can see that Labour won 536 councillors, and the Conservatives lost 1,061. That is got to be tough. The total of councillors for Labour has gone to 2,674 and the Conservatives 2,296. Now, I believe this is the first time Labour has won a majority in local government since 2002. The Liberal Democrats won 407, and I think that is actually really, really good. For me, the focal point here is the Greens getting 241. They nearly doubled the amount of councillors they got. Now, if you think the Greens have been around for decades, and the last 3 general elections, they have increased their support. But in these local elections, there's been a huge spike. Now, I will make a video about the Greens specifically because I think it really is interesting. Now, if we look at the vote share, these are the totals. Labour on 35%, which is fine. It's good enough. But the Tories got only 26%, which is pretty much catastrophic. Based on these results, Labour are on course to win the next general election. But we knew that. They have been polling above the Tories for some time now. However, election guru John Curtis has predicted a hung parliament. Now, this graphic is really interesting to me. You can see the swings in terms of vote share. Now, the South, you can pretty much see a direct correlation between Tory losses and Labour gains. But if you look to the North, then the Tories actually hold on. They lost 0.2%, which is basically the same. Now, after Brexit being done, Tory implosion, I would have thought the Tories would have hemorrhaged votes, but instead it looks as though Labour have either increased turnout or gained from other parties. Now, something I find funny is those that downplay Brexit in Labour's 2019 terrible defeat. But if you look at these results, it pretty much shows a return to Labour, especially the North, after Brexit. Now, there were people trying to say that it was all just Jeremy Corbyn and the policies, which is why Labour lost really bad, even though the policies were really popular in 2017. And Brexit was not a big issue. I think this kind of proves that that's not the case. Now, this is Sky's prediction for the next general election based on the locals. Labour to win 36%, Tories 29%, and that's a lead of 7%. Now, that's not sort of the polling we're used to when Labour were 30 points ahead, but now it's been whittled down into single digits. What is interesting is the 18% for Lib Dems, which is pretty high. Historically, Labour do well when the Lib Dems do well, because the Tories hemorrhage votes to the Liberal Democrats. Now, for a so-called progressive party, they would surely split the progressive vote, not a right-wing one. So I am interested into knowing the makeup of the Liberal Democrats voting coalition. For me, I think it's largely 2 factions. One is the centrists or centre-right people who like Keir Starmer, think that, Starmer is what a model politician should be, but they clearly disagree enough on policy that they don't, lend their vote to Labour. And I think, obviously, Starmer's refusal to back PR, which has obviously pissed off a lot of the centrist libs. Now, the second faction, I think, is just straight-up Tories. Now, these type of Tory voters, I don't think they have any problems with the policies or the manifestos of someone like Boris Johnson, but what they object to is the kind of lack of being cordial in politics. They hate Boris Johnson because of his character, the scandals. That goes for other Tory politicians who engage in scandals too. And I imagine, of course, there's a portion of the voting public that's completely turned off from that. They're obviously, of course, big Remain supporting Tories, essentially Cameronites. Now, what the percentages of these 2 coalitions is, I don't know. Although Liberal Democrats gaining benefits Labour, so there's probably more Cameronite Tories that vote Lib Dems than we think. Now, ironically, I actually think the party itself is to the left of its voters. I don't think they have a problem outflanking Labour to the left. Obviously, that's not very hard. Now, as a whole, the picture of the local election results aren't particularly surprising. Labour should have done a lot better. Out of over, 1,000 councillors that the Tories lost, Labour only picked up half of them, when the majority of the other half went to the Liberal Democrats. Now, if you want to call yourself a government in waiting, then I would say your party should be doing a whole lot better. It doesn't seem to me there's a huge confidence or enthusiasm behind Labour. Rather, it's because of the Tories imploding and smaller parties gaining. Now, given the fact that last year Labour were polling in some instances over 50%, then a 7% lead is actually, given that context, pretty bad. What made me really happy was seeing socialist independents winning. Now, obviously, it is only a handful of cases, but you got to take the victories. Alan Gibbons, who stood for Liverpool Community Independence, won a landslide in Orwell Park, LCI got 1,428 votes and Labour got 360. He was expelled from the Labour Party for voting against an austerity budget. So seeing him win outside the Labour Party is just, chef's kiss. Now we have another one. Left-wing Councillor Cal Corkery, who was expelled from Labour for liking a left-wing Facebook page. He's been re-elected as an independent. You can see here, 37% have turned out to vote for this person, and Labour lost 8 percentage points. I love that. Yes, in very small ways, but Labour are being punished for kicking out the left. So it's small but sweet justice. Now, what do you think in terms of the local elections? Is this good overall for Labour? Do you think they did poor? Why don't you drop a comment and let us know?